Wrokdown.
Welcome back to Wrokdown. This evening, my special guest is John Swan, better known as Swanee. Scottish thing, is it?
Yes, it is.
So, okay, so you really didn't have any intention of being a singer? Because I know that you were telling me that you
I always
joined
had
the
intentions
army.
of being. Yeah, I always had intentions. That was. Yeah, I joined the army much later.
What made
I
you
mean,
do
I was
that?
playing in the. Well, by then I had nearly wrecked my life. You know, most people are just starting their life at that age. I had joined a band and come to Melbourne when I was 14, and well, Lynn Mandel's band. You know, she had a hit with Chow Baby, and I went out and I played drums in her band and.
At 14.
Yeah, we went to Horsham and places like that and did all these wonderful town halls, and I don't think we got paid, by the way.
And you think about it now. I mean, with kids, and 14,
Yeah.
you wouldn't let your child out of the house. These
Well, they
days.
didn't. I left. I went.
Oh.
My mum and dad split up, and I just went. You know, nobody looking, right? You know, the band was talking about going to Melbourne, and I just went, wait for me, I'm coming. You know, so I borrowed a set of sticks off one of my neighbours and done a moonlight flute.
And how long were you with Lynn?
I wasn't with her long because we used to do like little stints of, you know, it was around the times when Bobby and Laurie and them were doing lunchtime concerts at the Bowl and 10th Avenue and places like that. There was about 4 or 5 different gigs on in the afternoon, and they would be playing Myers on the first floor or something like that, you know. And everybody was always looking for people to fill in because either guys would be away or they couldn't get, for some reason, somebody couldn't play. And that was what I found great about Melbourne. They had a much more, the music scene was really, really healthy. You know, there were so many bands coming out of there.
It was very healthy.
And bands coming from everywhere else, you know, New Zealand, Compulsion and bands like that, Winnie the Singles, and those bands. And when the guys came back from England, the Twilights brought back the Beatles thing and all that sort of stuff, you know, and I nearly died the first time I seen that. So you would expect a band who, when you see them, they sounded like the Hollies and they sounded like everybody else, and they go across there and they come back looking like the Beatles. They had the mustaches and the suits and all that sort of stuff, you know. And they were just, you know, world-class bands in those days. And I think the music scene in Melbourne in those days was so healthy, it was unbelievable. I mean, I now drive down streets that yesterday I was pumping in my Navigator going to look for a house, and I went past, you know, I think it was Brunswick Town Hall and places like that where you remember Chuggy and Michael running all of those gigs in those days, you know, that's how they
Bombay
started.
Rock.
Yeah, Bombay Rock, yeah. Be
Lived
thrown
around
down
the
those
corner.
stairs many a time.
Still live around the corner.
Yeah.
But it's true. People from Adelaide, or you know, kids from Adelaide, or even Perth. Although Perth, it was really hard.
I think Farnham was from Adelaide too, wasn't he?
Probably.
Originally, yeah.
Probably. You know, it's just everyone seemed to come from Adelaide. It had to be something to do with this wealth of talent that came out on the boats.
Yeah, migrants getting put there, yeah. And, you know, like, a lot of those kids had already they were a little bit older, so they were exposed to the music scene over there, just briefly. And when they came out here, they started to live their dreams because there was nobody really doing it, you know, like in Adelaide. So they all just got together and played.
So you basically, people used to either move to Melbourne or Sydney.
That was it.
And eventually, you chose Sydney.
Eventually, yeah, because, you know, I think it was the Checkers and all of that sort of thing, you know, like I just went up there and I met all of these sort of colourful characters, and my life changed, you know, like you start bumping into girls who can stand up and talk, you know, and you know, lots of bands and clubs and stuff like that, and you know, it was just really healthy. I find the music scene was, I mean, for me, the music scene was great in those days because there was just gigs everywhere. You know, you're up and down to Melbourne, Sydney all the time. You'd finish in Sydney on Sunday night and start in Melbourne at the Tiger Room on Tuesday or something like that, you know, whichever, you know. And guys like Frank would have you doing 4 and 5 gigs on the weekend, you know, like Matthew Flinders, London Tavern, Bombay Rock, and Bananas was a Saturday, you know, like. So it was sort of
The gigs of our
relatively
lives.
healthy.
The gigs of our lives.
Yes.
We'll take a short break and be back really soon.
Wrokdown.
Welcome back to Wrokdown. This evening, my special guest is John Swan. When you went up to Sydney in the 70s...
You know, I was in and out of bands, like, I was up and down Melbourne, Sydney, like a mad woman, you know, like, and it was because you got such an interaction between the bands, and you would use that band's PA as before you went on, and then you'd finish up having to play with them later on at night. And when they came to Sydney, they'd come to the Lifesaver, and I had a flat above the Bondi Lifesaver.
Oh, lucky you.
Ooh, yeah, that was good. You know, there was a bookies underneath and the flat upstairs, and we had that, so it was like a great place to sort of, you could go down and, you know, go upstairs and sort of have a drink, go downstairs and lean at the bar and act really cool, you know, like, and sort of pull a chick and go upstairs and come back down, and they didn't have to pay for their bus fare home. See, that's a horrible thing to say, isn't it? Can't help it. But, you know, that's what it was like, because literally there were so many bands in and out of there all the time, and we would...
And that was famous. The Lifesaver was
AC/DC
the
performing there
famous.
was just, yeah, I mean, I used to go on down and just watch the band performing, you know, like, and it was nice for me because...
Did you get in free?
Oh yeah, I lived there.
You lived there.
You know, I was sort of bouncing there and cooking and playing records and throwing out friends, and you know, whatever was needed to be done, you had to do it because it was part of the gigs, because you kept your own nest clean, and that was your nest. You know, if people came in from other places, they had to be escorted to the door. Somebody had to do it, so you'd go and help out your mates. You know, and just say go, and usually. It was musicians or road crews, so it was never a problem, you know, like everybody looked after it. And the Bondi Lifesaver had a particular mateship, the Tats and AC/DC, and we all shared houses together, so it's not like it was something that, you know, if you were out of order, you knew, because one of them would come up and say, you know, you're right out of order, mate, beat it, you know, like you go, oh, I'll be back tomorrow, you know. They go, yeah, cool, you know. But from that, you get to go through all these different bands and, you know, formations. I was with Black Feather for a while as a drummer, and then I took Johnsy's place as a singer, and then we changed that to Feather, and Stuart Fraser came in as a guitar player at 14, you know. So through the years, it just goes brrr, and before you know it, you've been through nearly every band in the country in some shape or form,
yeah.
you know, either helping with the road crew, you know, playing drums here and there, you know, you've got people in and out of each other's houses with each other's furniture all day, and eventually, you know, you just get around the country and you work all these bands. And I had to go back to Adelaide because I had made the mistake of getting involved in sort of drugs and alcohol and all that sort of stuff, which was, you know, it's part of my story. I don't back away from it. And as to say,
But it was part of probably almost everybody's story.
yeah, but by then I was 17, you know, like, so I had really sort of screwed my life up by the time I was 17. It was well on a downhill slope, so I sort of went back to Adelaide, joined the army, and spent 2 years in the army, and just went, this is not for me, you know. Fancy giving an idiot a gun, you know. Hello, you know, it's just not on. So I went back to Adelaide, and I was playing a blues band with Ronnie Pierce. And, yeah, and we got offered a gig with a guy called Steve Bilecki, he had a band called Queen, and they were just a great blues band. You know, they were doing all Jeff Beck stuff, and so I went in there as a drummer and was doing a bit of singing and stuff like that. And Don Walker was a keyboard player, and he said, "Oh, look, I'm forming another band. Would you be interested in singing in it?" And I said, "Oh, you know, not really, because I've just got a band that's starting to earn money. You know, we were earning $20 a week or something, and that was the first money we had earned at it in all of those years. So it was like, yeah." But I said, I know a drummer who's a really good drummer, and he's good. My brother can sing, and there's other guys like that. And what are you going to rehearse? And they were rehearsing at the Women's Liberation Hall in North Adelaide, I think it was, you know. Chisel in the Women's Liberation Hall. Ooh, scary stuff. And I took Steve down. I went with him because he just came from Liverpool, and he was into Yes and bands like that. So, and he was really into soul, and he had this great soul voice that sort of, in those days, people didn't have that sort of phrase in drummers. I'm talking about drummers, you know, like. So he went down there, and we went in and listened to Mossy do Lazy and stuff like that, and I thought, ooh, made a big mistake here, you know. And Jim got the gig. It was that simple, which was great because.
So you got your little brother a gig?
Well, I didn't really get it for him. One of my mates got it for him, because I didn't want to do it, you know, like. But I had taken Steve down there, and I got Steve the gig, and I think it was just a matter of they couldn't get you, and they needed somebody straight away. Jim went in there, and he's straight in. He's still the same, you know, like a bull at the gate, and had his Paul Rogers routine down.
You can say that.
Yeah.
No one else can.
Well, no, it's true. He'll say it himself. He's a workaholic, you know. He always has been. And we went to Armadale, and they were going to Armadale, and they said, join the band and go up there, you know.
I've got to ask,
Yeah.
why Armadale?
Because Don Walker was doing his quadrant mechanic master's degree at Armadale University.
Oh, okay.
So that's a good enough reason.
It had to be a reason.
Yeah.
The Armadale.
Yeah, you wouldn't pick it. And it was a little tiny town outside Armadale called Kentucky. It was freaking freezing. No toilet. You had to go outside and dig a hole, you know, like.
Did not.
Yes. Didn't have a poo for about 6 months. It was freezing out there.
Stop it. You're a naughty boy.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you moved from...
Sorry.
He's a naughty boy, but very lovable. You moved, all of you then, from Armadale.
Well, I
down
got the sack.
to
I
Sydney?
belted one of the road crew. I thought he
That'll
was,
do it every time,
You know,
yeah.
well, see, violence wasn't acceptable. You know, and I had a fairly, you know, I just don't tolerate fools very easily, and I tended to speak my mind a little bit more. And they were a bit younger too, you know. And this guy, I thought he was standing over the top of Mossy and my little brother. So he got up one night and he said something, and I politely put him back in his chair. And when he came to, the band had a meeting and said, you know, we can't have this thing going on. We're going to have to send Swanee back, you know. So Jim and Steve had to tell me, and Steve said, I'll come with you. I'm going back to, you know, he escorted me back to Adelaide. And from there, it's just, you know, it's history. They didn't need two singers. They certainly didn't need Jim and I in the same band, you know, like, and me as a percussionist standing there playing congas and bongos, you know, hey, get down, you know, like all this sort of stuff. And it wasn't Chisel's thing. You know?
So anyway, cut a long story short, you ended up in Sydney as well.
Yep. I went and formed Swanee. I got the elbow from Feather, and I went round to the Bondi Lifesaver, like I said, and I used to sit there every night and watch all the bands coming in, and I'd be taking his name, and I'd say, right, good guitar player, he's a dickhead. So I'd squash him out, you know, and you pick the ones that you wanted to, go up and talk to them, poach him out of another band, you know. As soon as that band fell to pieces, he would ring you and he'd say, right, so I put Swanee together and we started touring. You know.
So who did you end up with? Your first lineup of Swanee?
Peter Cackel, who later went into Jim's solo band, you know. John Cook, Bronte Wake, just some guys from Adelaide and guys from, but they had moved up to Sydney to do their thing, you know. They were with a band called the Cunning Stunts. Got away with that.
You think you've gotten away with things,
Yeah.
so wait till I show everyone this.
Yeah.
Do
But
it.
you know, like, that was just picking the best that I could get and put my band together. I went and did, Chisel were going to do demos for one of the guys, John Sinclair from Warner Brothers, and naturally I went along because I was always like, you know, like hanging around like a bad smell, and we all had a drink in us, and I sat down and played this song called Matthew on piano and sung it. And he said, that's a nice song, we should record that.
Did you write that?
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. And so we recorded that too. It was the same time when Chisel were doing their first album. So it was always there as opportunities, you know, to be, we were around each other, we didn't have to be in each other's pockets, you know, like, and we all, if I got crook or if I had too much to drink or something like that and couldn't make a show, Jim would roll up and do my gig and then leave and do his gig, or vice versa, you know, like, it was always that type of thing, you know.
Who's a pretty boy then?
Who's a pretty boy, eh?
Or pretty boys, I should say. This is fantastic. How old were you then?
I wouldn't call those boys pretty, you know.
Oh,
let's
come on,
face it.
please. That's cute.
They had a lot of hair, and that was...
How old were you there? Oh, 1977. It says 1977. And this is, of
probably
course...
20-ish, 21, 22.
I love all these old photos. You don't mind me showing the
No,
world,
that's
do you?
fine. No. That's at Checkers. Angels just had their first T-shirts, and they came at the side of the stage, and it was my birthday or something. No, it was Stuart Fraser's 15th birthday, and we had the bottle up
15.
on stage.
I can't believe
Pig
how
Morgan's
young.
piano.
I can't believe how young all you guys started.
We were young once.
15. No, but I mean actually playing gigs. People 14 and 15. This is absurd.
You wouldn't let your kids out these days if you know, like, if you don't let your kids out to play with the big boys, because the trouble is, when you're living with 21-year-olds and 22-year-olds, you do what 21-year-olds and 21-year-olds do, and you miss out on all that childhood, you know, like, and it tends to be a little bit more severe on you, you know, over a long period of time.
Over a long period of time,
Yeah.
We're going to take a short break.
Wrokdown.
Welcome back to Wrokdown. Now look, Swanee, of course, you big hits. If I Were A Carpenter, Lady What's Your Name,
Temporary Heartache.
Temporary Heartache. Temporary Heartache.
Yep. We also had He's Gonna Step on You,
Yes.
Hold Your Head Up.
The old Argent.
Yeah, Argent song. Yeah.
Argent song.
Well, some of them are on that new one too, because it's in Liberation. They want you to do some of the old hits. You
Okay.
know, like, so
This
we
is
did
your
them-
new album?
Yep, recorded in Nashville,
With
produced with
Mark Moffat.
Mark Moffat.
Aussie.
Aussie
Fabulous
guy.
Aussie producer.
And he's a great slide player, he's just a lovely big man, and he's got so many connections on there. I mean, I've got guys from Pat Travis Band to Bonnie Raitt's band, Randy Cause and all of these
Amazing musicians.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the musicians are just... if I had a wish list of musicians, I couldn't have paid to get these musicians, and they came along and played for nothing. The good thing is I'll probably go across there and record an album with them to return the favour, and I'll do their stuff over there, but as a guest vocalist, and just write the lyrics, and they're going to give me 50% of the royalties. You know?
Another exciting little piece of news. We're able to say now that it's more than likely you will be singing.
Yeah, I'll be
With
singing
the
them.
media.
And I used to go up and say, "Hi Max, how are you?" And he'd go, "How you doing? Have one of these, wake you up a little, put a bit of zest in your step, boy." And you know, he was just a lovely man.
Yeah. What are we going to play?
Trouble. I'm in a whole lot of trouble when I get home.
Why didn't I just guess that was going to be the
I
song?
know.
Would you please thank my special guest, Mr. John Swan.
Thank you.
Swanee.
Cheers.
And we're going to take you out tonight with, of course, what would you expect from him? Trouble.
Trouble.